And good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning, Justin. Morning, Marianne. Thanks for joining me today. We have a really great live stream topic, one that really kind of ties into our modern workplace series that we're putting together. And modern workplace is just what we are now in a modern workplace time. I suppose work from home, cloud tools, security, all that kind of tied in together. So we're doing a lot of work around this. And today's topic is about OneDrive, the kind of much misunderstood Microsoft's file sync and share tool. So I think our goal today is to kind of give some ideas of what it is, what it does, and then Marianne's really going to dive deep into some of the common problems that we see from our both training and ticket data that we have on our clients from there. So JP, what is OneDrive? Just kind of go through it.
Sure. OneDrive is actually two different things. It's both a program that you load on your computer that does syncing from Microsoft Cloud Services, Office 365 cloud services to your computer. And it's a place to store your files. It's a back-end cloud service for your file storage. And I think today, really, we're going to focus on that back-end cloud file storage piece as opposed to the software.
Right.
More about the OneDrive service, things you can do with it.
Okay, so like the actual like OneDrive, like the equivalent to, let's say, like a Google Drive or Teams Drive or Dropbox, Box, Ignite.
Exactly.
Insert other sync and share tools.
Exactly.
So great, perfect, very exciting. So Marianne, what are the things that you see? I know you trained a number of people on this, many people on this solution. What do you see as like just things that what like kind of the top things you see, or what do you find is a common issue with it? So
I think the number one thing I see is that people are unfamiliar with the user interface, and one of the one that people are least comfortable with is being able to move files. They're used to the file explorer, drag and drop, copy and paste, things like that. So it is a little different. One nice thing is you can sync it to your computer. So we have some instructions on how to do that. We're not going to go over how to do that today. But you can sync it to your computer and use it in the file explorer. But it's not practical to sync everything from OneDrive, all your SharePoints, all that stuff. So there are going to be instances where you need to use the online interface. So I'm going to show you how to do that.
Great.
So let me just quick share my screen. So this is actually my OneDrive, and it is my pictures folder. So, nothing too special. But if you want to move something, you can do like a really easy thing. If you can see it all in the screen, you can drag and drop like usual. So I'm going to move this image into archive, drag, drop, and it'll move it. You can see up there, it said moved one image into archive. So that's the easy way. But what if you need to move files from your OneDrive to your SharePoint, or just between different parent folders and all that stuff? It gets a little bit more complicated. But it's actually not that hard. You can just click the ... and then you've got the option to move to or copy to. So move to is really good. Once you click it, you can start looking at the different places. You can do your OneDrive, which is what I'm in now, but I could also move it to any of these SharePoint sites and put it into my training folder, into my documents, and then move right there. Move anyway, that's fine. And then the other thing is that you can copy to. So if I wanted these, actually, these stock photos that I took, they're Valiant stock photos, so it's actually photos of our staff. You can do the same thing, and I can keep it in my OneDrive and also copy to, and then put it into my stock photos training folder, which I actually do have in here. Pics and stock images, copy here. And that'll make a copy of it. So if I edit stuff in this folder, it's not going to edit it in the other one. They're two separate things now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's just an easy way. It's really helpful to get organized like this, because it really makes it a lot easier. It makes you more efficient. It's going to keep you so you know where things are. You don't have to go searching for things, and you don't accidentally make a second file that you already knew that you had. So
I might be guilty of that a couple of times.
Yeah.
We all are.
It happens. Cool. So that's, I mean, that's great. Honestly, I don't use that interface as much as I probably should. That's a really better way of using it, and it's cleaner than a lot of times the
Yeah.
File Explorer.
And even if you like this File Explorer, you know what? Sometimes you're not going to be home. You might be using someone else's computer.
Right.
So it is important to know how to do this stuff.
Right. Excellent. Cool. So, what are the other? What's like another issue you see a lot that people kind of come to you or ask questions about, or we see tickets about?
Yeah, so I actually do see a lot of, I mean, one of the best reasons to use any sort of cloud file storage is to be able to do collaboration, is to be able to share your stuff without having to attach, a file to an email and then they have a different version. What if you update it? All that stuff. We've talked about that before in our collaboration webinar, but I just want to show you a little bit of how to share from the OneDrive interface.
Great.
So I'm going to bring that back up. Okay, so it's the same OneDrive thing, but I can show you that I'm going to share the same stock photos. And I'm going to, you can either do ... and share, you can check the checkbox and do share at the top. The two things that you want to pay attention to is this, you can just enter someone's email. So I can send it to, well, let's send it to George, and now he's going to have access to this.
Right.
And there, now he's got an email, it's associated with his email. So when I look later and see how he is related to it, I can tell that it's associated with his account. As opposed to if you just click this is another way to do it, is when you share, you can copy the link instead. And then you can paste this in an email, you can paste this in a Slack chat, you can paste this in your Teams chat. But that's not necessarily going to associate it with that person's account, because they can then forward it on to people. You can see though that I have permissions set here that only people in Valiant Technology can edit, and you can change those in a few different places.
Right. So this is a really good way of kind of controlling who has access to stuff without being too stressful.
Yeah, I mean, and another way that you can share it, you can share directly from Outlook, but honestly, it takes a couple extra steps. So if you did want to send it through Outlook, you can either go to that link right there and you can see the different ways. But really, I would say copy the link and send it through Outlook, or if you sync your computer or sync your SharePoint or OneDrive to your computer, that makes it super easy, because then you can just attach like normal.
Right.
Yeah. I think even when you're doing that in Outlook, if you're doing it through OneDrive, one of the things to keep in mind is that it is different than an attachment. Like you said before, when you send an attachment, you're making a copy of that file, and if you send it to a bunch of people, they all have their own, and it doesn't reconnect at all. Whereas when we do the link or send it as a link like that, everybody's working on the same file, everybody sees the same file, so you can, if you turn on co-authoring, everybody can work at the same time. But even if they're not working at the same time, like that link that you sent to George, if he makes changes to it, it changes your file in OneDrive. So it's like an instant update. You don't have to play that game of who's got what version and who's got what. It's always up to date.
Yeah, and you can make direct comments on it, and yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I know we've started using this pretty extensively at Valiant and a lot of our customers, and it's actually really changed the way we, like, instead of forwarding it's a kind of losing of data leaking out of the company in weird ways of like where to go. Like I know you attach a file to an email and it's kind of outside your control at that point. You have no idea who has it.
Yeah. So. Well, yeah, and if you do it through this is actually the next thing I want to show you guys.
Cool.
Is all about figuring out where that stuff is, because one of the best things about OneDrive and cloud services is you can control that data. You can revoke access. You can see who has access. You actually have a lot more insight. And I actually find that nobody, like at the very base level, nobody really uses this unless they really have like sensitive things and are careful about that. But even then, sometimes they go to other things. It's super simple, and I just want to show everybody. So
great. So Miriam, please show it, and then I have a Stefan Kalp question as soon as we're done. So you want to go first? I think you have a lot of stuff going on there. It sounds great. All right, awesome. Go for it.
Great. So yeah, let me quick share this. This is the same exact thing, but we just shared this. We can do ... This just brings up the options, and then you click Manage Access. So this is the super powerful part. When you open it, you can see who has links giving the access. So I have 2 links right now that I sent out that people can get access to. So I'm going to start with the more options and see. This is the one that I shared with George. Okay,
Right.
fine. That's great. The link settings are that someone can edit it. I can copy this and send this same link to someone else. The other thing I can do is remove the link. I don't want George to have access to this anymore. Anyone who has that link, anyone he forwarded it to, won't have access anymore.
Cool.
Then you can see direct access, which is different than link giving access. This is just me right now and the study, which is one of our rooms. It acts like a person. I can add someone to have direct access. I'm going to add Matt Fox. He can edit, but I can also change this so he can just view it. And then notify people is just going to tell people that tell him that he has access, so that he knows that he can get into there now. So that's just like a really simple way. You can see who has access. You can edit it. I can stop sharing it with the study. People who are logged into there can't see it anymore. So it's really like easy if you just know where to find it to be able to stop sharing or give more access or edit the access that people have.
I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't embarrass myself here, Marianne. I didn't know that was the option and the way to see who had the link access. I was like, huh, I kind of didn't really fully understand that. So that's really like, as always, I feel like I learn something new every time I do one of these with you guys. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't know that. I'm like super excited. So awesome. So
and that's also, actually, I forgot to mention,
Yeah.
this is a big thing because it's OneDrive. These are all my files. So I always have access to do this manage access. In SharePoint, these things exist, but a lot of times you might not be the admin. You might not have the ability to do this, or you might be. So it might look a little different in SharePoint, even though you can have great control over your files. In OneDrive, you have total control because those are your files. It's your OneDrive.
Right. It's almost as I heard Justin use numerous times, and I might have repeated this numerous times, that OneDrive is basically my documents, but in the cloud. That's how I think. So great. So I want to throw up. Stefan as always. Stefan has these great questions. So Matt, if you want to throw that up there, I'll read it. Stefan Kalp, can I make a master shared folder for one person, and will every file and subfolder I put into that shared folder be there automatically shared? Or does each file and subfolder need to be shared? That's a really good question, and I'm going to let these two much smarter people answer that. So go for it.
Yeah, you can set it up how you want, but the parent folder, the master shared folder that you're talking about, anything new that you put in that is going to be shared to people in that folder. Right. Now, if you have lower folders within that master folder, you can make those share differently. You can have the master folder, let's say the Valiant stock photos that I have could just be mine. And then within it, I do stock photos, pictures of Matt Fox. And then I share those with him so he can always see what pictures are of him and he can edit that stuff, but he can't see the pictures I have of JP. So that's one thing you can do. You can edit that a little bit more granularly, but yes, if you have a folder, anything you put in that's shared, anything you put into that folder will now be shared. It's nice. It usually comes up with a pop-up too. It says, hey, this is a shared folder, just so you know.
Right. So basically the parent folder will then the permissions will flow to the
down.
They flow down from the top down,
right.
But then you have discretionary control to change part of the inside of the folder to change it as needed, right? Basically. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't rely on the and a lot of times that's called permission inheritance.
I know, thank you. I know that's a word. Thank you.
I wouldn't rely on that to set up like if you had a folder and you share that folder with somebody, you should assume that anything that you put in that folder underneath it, they're going to have access to. If you don't want them to have access to something, you shouldn't put it in that folder and then try to block them from it. You should put it in another folder altogether. And similarly, if you're looking to have like something that you're setting up to share with a lot of people, like you want an entire department to always have access to a certain folder, a certain data, that's probably a better fit for SharePoint than in OneDrive, just because it's easier to manage, and the admin system is the owner as opposed to you as an individual as the owner. So there's more permissions that can be done with it. But if I've got a folder, and even if we do this externally too, I've got a folder of stuff that I'm working on for a real world example, a presentation I'm doing this week with 2 vendors. I'm going to send them a link to that folder and say, hey guys, here's where my PowerPoint is. Here's where all the files are. Add your stuff to it. And they're going to use those files that are stored in my OneDrive to do it.
Super. That's really great. Yeah, it's so much easier to work that way. And then and one thing we haven't really mentioned when we touched on it was versioning,
Mhm.
so that you have
Oh,
some semblance of who touched what file when, and then we can roll it back based on some
Mhm.
different permissions, which is awesome.
yep.
So
And I don't have the link handy, but if you go to thevaliantway.com/KB, there is a version
Mhm.
history how-to all about SharePoint. So
cool. It's not, but it's such a huge ecosystem and so many things to learn. It's like it never.
yeah,
I feel like every time you touch it, you're like, oh, I didn't know that. That's really exciting.
yeah.
So
Well, that's why we just want to give you a couple of how-tos, a little bit of a demonstration on some of this stuff. If there's anything you guys do want to see, let us know. If there's something you're like, oh, you mentioned sharing outside of the company. If you're
right.
interested in that, let us know. Ask us questions. We will definitely run through that with you. Make
Mhm.
an article, make a video. We are great to help. So.
We honestly we love getting content, especially building content, especially stuff that people want to know about,
Yeah.
and just kind of wrap it up for today. I mean, as I said, if you have questions, please submit it at this link here. We want to be super helpful and useful, and just give you information that can make your day better. And
Yeah.
we're on social, we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We're on YouTube. We have a great YouTube page that has a ton of content in there that's super useful, that we've been working on, that we spend a lot of effort to make sure it's useful. And any kind of comments are great. And we have actually a kind of interesting little side diversion, I think, for our next webinar for next week is one that we don't do as much as we should, but I think I'm really excited to do it, is the 2020 updates for G Suite.
Mhm.
G Suite's been making some really great strides in this kind of collaboration workplace
Modern
area,
workplace
modern
stuff. Yeah.
workplace, exactly. And I think it's really great to see them kind of like this competition is a good thing, and it really helps us. And we support people on both sides of the fence, I suppose.
Mhm.
And so we want to make sure that we get them the G Suite folks some love and some
Get them covered
information.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was they may not know some of the exciting stuff coming out of G Suite. I mean, I think that I feel like even Google's even more like stuff just comes out. You're like, man, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff. So
It's
with
really
that,
cool. So we're working on that, and
yeah,
we'll have that for you Google guys.
that's right. And it's gonna be. And so that's next. That'll be next week on
Mhm.
Wednesday. Once again at 10:30. We do these every week. And if you have suggestions for someone's down the road, send them to us. We put them into the hopper and we start working through them. And with that, I want to say thanks and have a great day. Justin, Marianne, as
Thank
always,
you.
super
Thanks, everyone.
informative, and I had a great time doing it with y'all. See you next
Same
week.
here.
All right.
Bye.
Bye now.
Thank you.